If we look at all the things that Jesus is reputed to have said, we will find that there is a great dichotomy to it all. And it's very paradoxical, very in line with what it is to be a human being. Now, in one line, Jesus is reputed to have said, "Where I am going, you cannot follow." Then in another line, he says, "I will reserve a place for you in my Father's kingdom." And so, well, on the one hand he's saying where he's going, the Father's kingdom, I'm assuming. See, there's lots of assumption that, we have to, contemplate and deal with. Too much room for assumption. But it does state that where I'm going, you cannot come. And maybe on this occasion he's speaking to the Pharisees. And maybe people say, well, the reason why he said that is because they were dead. They weren't spiritual people, so they could never go where he was going, or where he is in his state of consciousness. And then it all goes, all this. There's so much worming out of everything. And I'm okay with worming out of things and philosophizing about things. I'm not okay with dogma. So we need to make our minds up, really, whether we're going to believe that every single line of verse in the Bible is the Word of God and it is true, or we're going to leave it open to interpretation, using our minds in a logical, rational way, being biblical scholars, knowing the main theme of what Jesus has said. Well, it must be within that context, and what he was meaning here is this, and why he said it this way is because of that. Okay, yeah, we can reason and rationalise this thing through. And then, you've got the Book of Thomas, which is a big bone of contention for Christians because it wasn't included in the Bible, even though they knew about Thomas Didymus because he was one of the apostles. And but the Book of Thomas is about 108, or some people say 114 verses, which start every single line Jesus said. And within that book there's lots of things. And Jesus says that I am your twin. We are all brothers and sisters of the one true God. Then, of course, in the Bible, in Mark and Luke and all that, it says that all that I have done and can do, you can do more. And the kingdom of God is within you all. And then it says, I didn't come to bring peace, I came with a sword to divide. So there's a lot of things that we have to contend with. And then when we go to the Old Testament and we find the abomination of all what was said and supposedly carried out in that collection of books, well, we seriously have to wonder whether it was God doing these things or it was the beast himself, because there's a lot of murder, a lot of persecuting, a lot of hate and jealousy and condemning, of homosexuals and things like that. Why did God create homosexuals and then condemn them? Why did God seemingly give us the choice to become such and then condemn us? Could say, well, no, that was the devil. Is anybody seriously contemplating or believing or considering that homosexuals are cursed by the devil? Is anybody still there? In those dark ages? I don't think we are we? So that doesn't work. No, that doesn't work. So why did God slaughter anybody that pushed it uphill? Seems like it might just have been a reflection of certain people at the time when they were writing that sort of stuff. Wow, there's a whole bunch of stuff that's very, very evil in the Old Testament. And there's one little episode that all stuck in my mind, and it was unbelievable. It was like when the chosen ones were moping around in the desert for 40 years, and they were still worshipping graven images. And how many times did God fire down fire and brimstone and just wipe thousands of them out? How many times did he send them into battle and have them slaughtered because they weren't true believers? On one occasion, there was like 3,000 something soldiers, and he said, because of how evil you have been in your thoughts and defiant to the Lord, all stand in lines of 3, and the one on the right side of the 3, take out your sword and stick it into the man's neck who is on the left of you. And then it says, on that day there were 1,273 people slain at the request of the Lord. Or, really? Wow. Sounds like some dictator of serious magnitude. It sounds like, I don't know, Pol Pot or Joseph Stalin, or, you know, not even as bad as Hitler. Hitler, you know, I think did lesser crimes than that. You know, that was to his own people. It's God's children. So it's like, you know, Hitler saying to all the SS stormtroopers, take out your Luger and plug the man next to you. You fucked up. No, wouldn't work for me. But it seemed to have worked for millions of people. And so I just get to pondering, why did all this evil get transmuted into benevolence and beauty and wonderful actions of the Lord? Why, when the Lord says to Abraham, take your son Isaac and sacrifice him unto me, if you truly love me, if you truly believe in me, what sort of a tyrant, insecure motherfucker would do that? And what sort of an anus asshole would actually comply? It's all beyond evil, people. And, you know, people try to, oh, well, I mean, this allegory, because, I mean, what the Lord was meaning and what this illustration was about, it's about if your faith is, you can move. Speak up, I can't hear you. You see? No, we don't see. No, we don't see. Sorry. No. Now stop cutting it with me. Stop cutting it. So, if we are really looking, if we are desperate looking for benevolence in the Old Testament, you're really going to fucking struggle. And the only thing you're going to have to cling to is the Lord loves you. As long as you don't do this and that and that and this and that and that and that and something and this and that, as long as you don't do all the things that pertain to being a human being, he loves you. Oh, well, that's fucked then from the beginning, isn't it? You know, so why would anybody say that they're offering us love if, you know, it's like us saying to our dog, I will love you if you stop being a dog. If you stop doing all that dog shit, then I will love you. Can't you be a human? No, it's a dog. It's a dog, people. So when we apply rational thinking to these scriptures, they look vile. They look really disgusting and abhorrent. And they fly in the face of reasonable thinking and wholesomeness. They really are outside of anything that's remotely wholesome for the human being. But they're turning it all upside down and inside out to poison and indoctrinate and propagandize people that read it. And then there's just a few lines picked out of it, and it's like making a patchwork fucking dress out of 1,000 offcuts. They've used about 70 patches to make this dress, and then they try and make out that dress is the fucking pile of scraps of patchwork. No, it's not. It's just a bodged fucking patchwork dress made out of all that shit. And that's what the Bible is. It's full of shit from the beginning to the end. And there's so many occasions where Jesus is saying, look, it's not Jesus, me, the man. And of course, you know, there is no J in the Jewish language, right? So if Jesus was Jewish, he could never have been called Jesus, because J isn't in their alphabet. So then people say, oh, okay, well, it's Yeshua. Well, why didn't you say fucking Yeshua then? Why didn't you promulgate all over the world it's Yeshua instead of Jesus? It's just another perversion. We've got Y in our language, we've got Y in all the other languages, so why can't we say Yeshua? Yeshua fucking Banderas, whatever his name was, instead of Jesus Christ. None of those names were his name. Christ is the Christos. It's not a name. It doesn't pertain to a person. It pertains to a state of consciousness. And Jesus is saying that throughout. It's the state of consciousness, the Christos. And everybody has the Christos, potentially. You know, somewhere in our genetic makeup, somewhere, you know, it was probably thought that, you know, there were lots of people that, you know, probably could, you know, find the Christos within inside themselves. But then, as contradiction would have it, on the other hand, Jesus says, let the dead bury the dead. Where he knew that there was no respite, that there was no converting them. They were dead. And then there's lots of verses which pertain to what Jesus was meaning by dead was metaphysically, metaphorically dead, spiritually dead. They never had the Christos. The Christos hasn't been awoken within them. And that's the whole thing about what it is to be spiritually awoken. We have to wake the fuck up to the essence of the Christos within us. And then when we do that, then we have a realization about what we are at our core. And so all these things I can point out from the Old and New Testament. But it seems that Christians in general, they're too stupid to logically look through with a refined mind to put the pieces together. And they've never probably read the Bible most certainly in its entirety from the beginning to the end, which I have done a minimum of 2 times. And so if you ask them about you know, certain facets of the Bible, they won't be able to tell you anything about them. And then of course you've got those who can quote line and verse because that's all they do. They just take it all on board, parrot fashioning. They remember this stuff, and then, like, if you ask them a question and it'll trigger something in their mind, and it goes, that means clause 3 section 4, Jesus said unto them, what do you think about that? I mean, do you not have Christos within you? The Christ is within, yes, it's within me. Where is it then, you numpty? Jesus loves me. Yeah. And so, of course, I can have fun with fools. And I don't know why, you know, it's been my bag to write a book and name it such. And then name the channel. I even named the channel. I changed the name of the channel a few days ago to Closer to God. And I'm going to draw more and more of these numpties towards me. What's happening? I can only think that the real God is working through me, and he's asking me to be evangelist for the true and one God, which is pure consciousness, the Christos, which potentially is in us all. And you know, he is aware that consciousness is working towards a new paradigm. We're coming out of the Kali Yuga, we're going into Aquarius, and you know, we're going to all flow like water. It's all going to be, you know, the beautiful flowing of nectar from all of our lips when we all speak the living truth. Yes. Anyway, just to finish off this video, I'm speaking about how we can have a beautiful relationship with animals once they become comfortable with us. And so now I've got several animals, squirrels, eating out of my hands, and birds coming very close to me. And if I'm standing here, then I'll get birds coming and sitting here, robins and tits and those sort of things, and pigeons and doves will be right by my feet. they've become comfortable with me. And then in the comments I'm speaking about there's a place, a national park, it's a reserve, it's called the David Attenborough National Reserve, and it's in Nottinghamshire, and within that park something magic happens. You walk around the whole of that park, you buy seed, and then many birds will come and eat out of your hand. You'll get all different sorts of small birds which will be landing on you, on your shoulders, on your heads, in your hand, taking the food out of your hand. It's an incredible, bizarre experience. It's like you're in a movie set of Alice in Wonderland, or any of these Walt Disney movies where, you know, the birds and the animals have a wonderful relationship with human beings. It is possible, people. And of course, we've all heard stories and seen videos of humans having wonderful relationships with animals. And so that is the variety of heaven. And I think that when they speak about the lion, well, they don't say the lion anymore, is it? It's the wolf lays down with the lamb. It used to be the lion before the Mandela effect, but now it's the wolf lays down with the lamb. But these things can happen. Yeah, I don't know, what can happen is the wolf and the lamb and all these creatures can lay down with us if we stop eating them, if we stop killing them, if we stop threatening them, and if we make them feel comfortable. Then we can have this wonderful relationship with all animals. But probably, it stands to reason that you're not going to eradicate that from a natural predator. Predators are always going to do that because that's what they are designed to do. And so the wolf will always tear the lamb apart. There's no conditioning that out of it unless we domesticate them. You see, if we domesticate all these animals and we feed them so they don't need to go and eat other animals, then we can develop this sort of beautiful cohesion with each other. And so when we look at the idealism of heaven, when it says streets of paper gold and a few things like this, it's kind of like it's just saying that it's the best of it's just an idea, it's just a metaphor, it's just something stupid. What they should have said really is look, just imagine paradise or heaven is whatever you individually think is the most wonderful and perfect environment, and then they leave that down to our own imagination then, don't they? Because we've all got our own ways of looking at this world and experiencing the world, so it'd be silly if we considered that wasn't going to continue when we left this dimension. If we have our own individuated state of consciousness, then we're going to be taking that with us, and we're going to be applying our personal pet hates and likes onto the canvas of whatever's there. Otherwise we're not conscious sentient beings, are we? Otherwise we just fall back into the whole again, and we don't have any individuation. And so if when we end up leaving this dimension, we go back to source, and then we are pure God consciousness, which hasn't been fractalized and shaped into individual shards to enjoy their own perspective. You see, I think it's something like consciousness within ourselves. Some of us, we can think in many different faceted ways. Well, that's kind of like God creating all different sorts of living creatures to think in a different way. And so we can experience what it's like to be God in a smaller way. And I'm all speaking about how the human being is a temporary or permanent house for spirit. There are many spirits that come and go. that take up residence within us, that enter our bodies, to live vicariously through us. And you would have all have recognised that in your own lives when you've done some stuff, and then people say, oh, I don't know what came over me, or I don't know what came over that person. You know, he acted like he was possessed. Look, you know, we have spirits enter us, and then they make us do acts of benevolence, and then they make us do heinous acts. And you know, this is why, you know, this whole thing about exorcism exists, because they've known for a long time that if you have a resident demon and he's persistent and he doesn't want to leave, well, you have to force him. And that's why Jesus went out doing all these exorcisms, you know, getting all these demons to enter into pigs and then run off the cliff and all that sort of thing. Anyway, dudes, I've made lots of videos today, that's enough.